Здравствуйте.
Hello. Today we will examine another stereotype about the conception of social safety. Since many public figures do not wish to master the CSS, they put forward the diagnosis that the CSS is esotericism, or a science for the chosen. The author collective addressed this claim in one of its later works, which describes a paradoxical political situation. There is a need to protect Rus from liberalism and Nazism, which lead to destruction. There is the CSS, which makes it possible to solve this task through the building of Spravedlivosť. Representatives of the so-called patriotic, anti-liberal and anti-nationalist elite cannot announce their adherence to the CSS, as this does not correspond to corporative discipline, because there are things about which it is not customary to speak openly, otherwise one can be simply removed from one's occupied position. So it turns out the CSS is discussed within a narrow circle, behind closed doors. Certain provisions are voiced publicly, but without reference to the IP of the USSR, according to the principle, those who know will understand. Thus, it seems to become an esoteric teaching. But in actual fact, this is illusory esotericism, since all works are available in open access on the internet, and anyone who wishes can master them. The main obstacle is laziness of the mind and the underdevelopment of the right hemisphere of the brain, which is observed as a rule in humanitologists, in particular in liberals. Therefore, the CSS is easier for technically minded people to master, but this is already a problem of the current system of education and science as a whole, which produce underdeveloped obraz thinking. Many people familiar with the CSS suggest presenting it in a simpler language for those who, in their opinion, are unable to master the terminological apparatus of the CSS. When you ask such people, have you yourself understood it? They say, well, I have 2 higher educations, I understood, but others will not. In their view, a simplified presentation should be created for the broad masses. Implicitly, it remains assumed that he himself will be the leader who these masses will bring to power and who will be able to interpret these or those points. This, in essence, is one of the forms of crowd elitism, when a certain group of people is not acknowledged to be capable of understanding what the chosen have understood. In our view, conveying the basic provisions of the CSS in simple language is necessary work, which today is being carried out by different people, for example, Viktor Yefimov, the Law of Time Studio, and other social initiatives. For example, we are filming the given video from the same motivation. However, studying these fundamentals is only the first step, and it does not eliminate the need to independently master the works of the IP of the USSR and to reconsider one's own stereotypes and raviousness. As for educating children, of course there should be programs of upbringing and education based on the CSS, presented in a play form and with the help of fairy tales. But this is an entirely different phenomenon. When a person has grown up, the responsibility for mastering knowledge lies with him. It is impossible to force someone to study and understand something. But if a person wishes to study the conception, he has every chance to get a grasp on it by beginning to read any book of his choosing. The principle by which the works of the IP of the USSR are written and the adopted terminology make all the books self-sufficient. Thank you for your attention.